guys, Jeremiah with Steps Pressure Washing and More. I'm going to do a quick video today. One of our subscribers, Pristine Exteriors of Virginia, asked us a question, and they asked, hey, it seems like you have to make $100,000 to make $60,000. And that kind of got a little bit of the ball rolling in my head of it does and it doesn't, depending on a huge factor, and the biggest factor I can think of is how much do you charge? So I did a video last week about doing your budget and the importance of having that budget, and where I'll put that link in the description below just so that you guys can find that video. But along with having all of my budget numbers in my head, I thought, hey, why don't I go ahead and break down what a $99 guy would be doing using just the numbers that I have from my experience from this past year. Some of these numbers are not going to account for a lot of the intangible expenses and intangible sales that you're going to make. So I can go up and I can say I put out a flyer on someone's door back in 2021 and they hired me. I came back out to their house again this year. So that house this year cost me $0 in expenses for advertising because I had already paid that. So that house led to me being referred to their neighbor. Their neighbor referred me to another neighbor. Their neighbor had a couple of rental properties. So as far as advertising expenses for that, all of those, I paid $0 for this year. It was all word of mouth and the expense I paid back in 2021 when I put out some flyers. So that's not a tangible expense that I can really equate to in this video. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm only going to be talking about things, supplies and equipment that I know I spent on average per job, as well as advertising costs that I spent in order to get a new client this year. So a little bit about those numbers. Let's go side by side, the $99 guy versus the $199 guy. So this is really, I'm just going to be talking about house washing. You're going to be able to do upsells. Sometimes they'll buy, sometimes they won't. So those are kind of those intangible numbers that I'm not going to get into today. So just for this hypothetical scenario, we're going to say that both of these guys are doing just house washes, and they're all brand new clients. We're saying this is first year in business. We're going to add enough clients to make $100,000, and that's the prime number that we're looking for on both of these columns. So what I'm going to say here is the $99 guy, we're going to round that to 100 for easy math for the video. And we're going to round the $199 guy over to 200 so that we can easily add these up. In order to get $100,000 in revenue, the $99 guy is going to do 1,000 jobs, 1,000 houses, and he's going to make $100,000 in revenue. The $199 guy is going to charge $200 a house, basically, and he's going to do 500 houses to have that same $100,000 in revenue. Now, in order to get a new customer, I spent $44.62 on advertising for all of our new clients this year that we obtained through paid advertising. So we're going to go ahead and round that down to $44 per customer, which by that number, the $99 guy is going to pay $44,000 to get his 1,000 jobs, which, if you think about it, is actually a pretty substantial amount, but it's also, if you've been in this business long enough, you know 1,000 new clients in 1 year is going to be almost impossible. So you're going to have to spend some money in order to get that figure. On the other side, in order to get the same amount of revenue, the $199 guy is going to spend $22,000, which almost seems too low to get an additional 500 new clients this year to wash their house. So right now we're at $100 here and $200 here, $44,000 spent on advertising versus $22,000 spent on advertising. Then we're going to come down to supplies and equipment. So I'm about $38 per job in supplies and equipment for this year. And I really, when I first started off, I thought I'm going to be making an investment then I'm not going to have to reinvest. So I, bought all of my supplies and equipment the first year, and I'm not going to have to buy supplies and equipment the second year. The problem was I started really small. So every time I added more equipment, I had to add on. So I ended up spending about $38 supplies and equipment to do each job. So that's going to include my sodium hypochlorite. That's going to include some new supplies for gutter cleaning. That's going to include new nozzles, new guns. When I break a hose, I've got to replace them. I like to have replacements on the truck. New pump, you name it. If it was new equipment or supplies, I bought it, and it went into that $38 on average per customer. So we have $38,000 on the $99 guy for his supplies and equipment for the year. Then on this side, we have $19,000 for supplies and equipment for this year. So let's go ahead and cut it off there. And we're going to say this is our cost of doing business. So we have how many houses we want to do, how much advertising we're going to spend to get those clients, and how much we're going to spend on supplies and equipment to do those jobs to make this prime number, that $100,000 we're aiming for. So on this side, the $99 guy has done 1,000 houses, spent his money advertising, spent his money to do the actual jobs. He's going to come across with $18,000 in profit for the year. On the opposite side, we have the same amount of money revenue coming in, but half of the houses, half of the advertising, and half of the supplies and equipment, and we're going to come out with $61,000 in profit for the year. These are huge differences in numbers. And one of the biggest things is, yes, Pristine Exteriors of Virginia, you are correct in this scenario, that if you spend this money to get this number, that $100,000 that you're aiming for, that you're going to get a $61,000 return on these two investments. So that being said, this is not covering everything. You still have to worry about having a truck. You still have to worry about insurance, and you have to worry about a lot of other variables. I do like to have different accounts set up to where I can have an emergency fund, an equipment replacement fund, and taxes, because that taxes is not coming out of that 61 or that 18. So definitely make sure you've got your budget set up, even though if you are charging $100 or $200 or $500 per house, you want to make sure that you know where your money is going and coming from. So again, check out that description link for the budget video. Let's also break this down with how realistic these two numbers are. How realistic that you're going to be able to bust out of the gate and get 1,000 new clients this year versus getting 500 new clients this year. 500 new clients this year, to me, sounds like an insurmountable goal, because I've never had 500 new clients in a year, and I've also never spent $22,000 to get new clients for a year. Let's break down a little bit on how much you're actually making and bringing home, and is it really worth it? So we're going to go ahead, we're going to get rid of these numbers here. Let's talk about hour by hour, day by day. We're going to go ahead and give both of these guys 2 weeks off, and then we're going to talk about how many houses they're going to have to do during the 50 working weeks out of their year. So the $99 guy, he's going to have to do 20 houses per week, which equates to about 4 houses per day. Now, doing 4 houses in a day is not an insurmountable goal. I would say having enough clients lined up to have 4 houses per day every single day, 50 weeks out of the year, is pretty hard to come by. But if he does make that happen, it will be an 8-hour day, say on average 2 hours per house, including drive time. So 2 hours per house, 8 hours per day. He's working 40 hours a week. For the $18,000 he's going to make during that year, he's making $9 an hour. We're going to come over to the $199 guy. And this guy is also trying to achieve some pretty high to attain goals, at 500 houses per year. We're going to cut him 2 weeks off, because you got to have a break sometime. And we're going to say that's 10 houses per week on average. That starts to feel like a more reasonable goal. If he works 5 days a week, he has to do 2 houses per day in order to hit his 500 houses per year goal. If we do the same 2 hours of cleaning time and that's going to include driving, he'll work 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, a total of 20 hours. So with his $61,000 in profit that he comes away with, he's now making $61 an hour. That is actually something that sounds pretty good to me. If you're a business owner, you're also the owner, you're the operator, you're the marketing director, you're the accountant, you make YouTube videos, whatever it is that you fill your day with, you're going to want to make a substantial amount of money because you're trading your time, your effort, your energy, and there's a lot of work that goes into being a small business owner. I would not want to do it for $9 an hour. I would much rather do it for $61 an hour. And that way, when it is your day off, when it is your vacation, you can do things that you want to do. You can actually say, hey, I really worked hard this year. I'm going to do some really fun things. Whereas on the other side, they are really barely scraping by still, and all of their money is just getting reinvested back into the company so that they can get more work to do. And I'll tell you, doing 4 jobs a day every single day is going to be hard on your body. Doing 2 jobs a day is going to be hard on your body. So you got to take that into consideration as well. Also, when you're the small business owner and you're the only person here making any money, you've also got to drum up new clients every day for both of these businesses. And if you've got an extra 4 hours to 6 hours a day on this side, because you've only done washing for 4 hours today, you're able to go out and put out your yard signs. You're able to make some phone calls. You're able to do some Facebook marketing. On this side over here, you've already worked your 8 hours. You've made it home. You're absolutely exhausted. Chances are you're not going to feel like going out for another couple hours and put out yard signs or do Facebook marketing, do some cold calling and say, hey, I drove by your Dollar General today and I noticed that the storefront needed to be washed. And all those little things add up. So the $9 an hour that this guy over here is making might actually be much lower than that because of all of the time and effort spent trying to drum up new jobs to keep the momentum rolling. So both of these businesses have the ability of being profitable, but I would say if it were me and my money, I would go to be the $199 guy. I also don't charge $199 per house. I have a sliding scale, so the bigger the house gets, the higher the cost of the house is. So I charge by square footage rather than a flat rate. So if I'm out at someone's house for 4 hours doing all this detail work on a really big house, I'm going to charge them a lot more than I would, say, a 1,400 square foot box that is going to take me 30 to 45 minutes to wash, along with some setup time. So it's definitely one of those things where there's a give and take. I think that a $99 idea is really great if you want to do a ton of volume, but not looking to make profit for your first year. You may also have a hard time finding 1,000 new clients every year, or even just during that first year. What I definitely found out too on my second year in business is your first year clients don't all call you back or don't want their house cleaned right away for that second year. So you now have to do that again. You have to get a whole new set of clients for that second year before your third year, when your first year clients are starting to get ready to have their house washed again. And if you guys have any questions, comments, or just have an idea for another video you'd like for me to share some knowledge on, if I have the knowledge, I'd be more than happy to share that. Just pop a comment down below and I will try and get that video out as soon as I can, or I might just come back and say, hey, I don't know anything about doing small business taxes. That's not a question for me, and I don't feel comfortable giving you advice on it. But I know budgets and I know numbers, and I'm happy if this helps even one person get on their business plan and make it to a successful startup. Anyway, enough about me. You guys be safe out there.